All right, Destin, we are going to go over a couple things today that I think everybody should know when they're using Wendal. So the first thing that is probably one of the most important things that you should know how to do as an admin of your organization is know how to pull up Teamprint results and read them, download them, share them, that type of thing. So once you set up your organization, you start sending out invite links, and you start gathering results and data from people's Teamprint submissions. It'll start to populate in your organization like we're seeing here. So we will go ahead and click on your team, Destin, as an example, and pull up your Teamprint results. To do so, locate the team you want to look at. So in this case, cardio. Go over here to this options column, click on the three dots and click view. On the left here, you're going to see a progress column. What this is progress towards any questionnaires, assessments, etc., that you have in your pathway. In this case, for the Wendal Social organization, we just have Teamprint. We can see here Destin and Max both completed Teamprint. And then down the center lane, we've got our dashboard and other things, and we can cover that. We've covered that a little bit more in some other videos. So today we're going to focus on pulling up Teamprint results, how to read them, how to share them, that type of thing. So we go over here to Destin's results. We can click view, and that's going to pull up a pop out with all of his Teamprint results. We can see here that based upon what Destin submitted when he took the assessment, that he's a disruptor. We can start reading his description here. He's an accurate risk taker, impatient at times, etc. And we can see on the right here some of the roles or job titles that he might excel in based upon his profile. So account executive, member of the C-suite, GM, VP of sales, project leader, etc. Are all job titles that a disruptor and Destin would excel at. And these change depending upon your profile. So if you're an artisan, it's going to look different than if you're a disruptor, than if you're a closer or an ally or explorer, etc. Further down, we can look into the Teamprint wheel here and see where Destin falls on that wheel and what vector he falls into. So as a disruptor, he's squarely in the enterpriser vector, meaning he gets energy by taking charge. He's often proactive and assertive in situations, which lends itself well to that taking charge nature. Similarly, accelerators, problem solvers, and strategists, they all gain energy in similar ways through taking charge and sort of leading in that way. But they all vary based upon their trait makeup, which we'll get to in a little bit. Like I mentioned before, not everybody's a disruptor. You might come back as a subject matter expert or an operator or a mingler or an organizer or something else. And you can see where you fall on this wheel and how that relates to the other profiles. One thing to note is that, if you're a disruptor here and your colleague is an operator, typically your simple way to kind of read this or understand this is that your trait makeup is going to be a little flipped from the operator here. So where the enterpriser the disruptor likes to move fast, take charge situations, an operator might move a little bit slower. They might enjoy, leading by being a team player or, in a more communal way. And you can sort of use that line of thinking when you're building your teams as a way to understand the balance of the wheel here. On the right side here, we have more little details that can help inform, what the profile says about a person. So we have a unique vector difference. So for the disruptor here, amongst all enterprisers, they're considered to be the most proactive profile. You have your strengths, pitfalls, things, to lean on and things to be aware of. And then we have your signature work styles. So how you communicate, how you delegate, how you make decisions, your response to action and risk and so on. And again, all of this will vary and change depending upon what profile you're in. And you'll see trend lines based upon, the vector you're in. As we scroll on further, we get into the trait makeup here. So when you really want to dive deep into understanding who somebody is based upon their Teamprint profile, Up here, looking, where you fall within the wheel and the vectors is important. And it can get you, it can get you pretty far along on your understanding pretty quickly. But to really dive deep and have a true understanding of, who a person is and how they may interact with other people within your organization or outside your organization, you really need to hone in on and focus on the traits. So we have, when we look at Teamprint, there's two different types of traits. There's foundational traits, which we can look at here, and enrichment traits, which we'll get to in a second. Focusing now on the foundational traits, these are the traits that are core to you, and they represent ways in which you outwardly and inwardly express yourself, and ways in which you get energy, and how you sort of interact and move through things. So we have 4 trait categories. We have the leadership trait, the social trait, the reaction trait, and the technical trait. And going down the list here, starting with the leadership trait, this represents how you lead, right? So if we look at a champion or an alpha, they lead by taking charge. They like to, they like to forge ahead. They like to work with their team to say, hey, this is how we need to push ahead. And they get energy, and they're naturally good at leading in that way. If we look at, like I had mentioned earlier, so maybe an operator or somebody in the collaborator bucket, they may fall over here on volunteer or team player, which is sort of the other side of that coin. And what that means is they get energy when they lead in their leadership style, by working together, by everybody, being able to help each other out, saying, I've got this, you've got that, and let's push forward together. One thing to note when looking at leadership styles is I think sometimes people will look at this and see that this side of the the curve here represents somebody that is able to lead, has high leadership abilities and high leadership skills, and this side of the spectrum, they maybe not so much. It's important to note that this isn't a representation of the ability to lead, but more so how somebody leads. So somebody could be a team player or volunteer and could be just as an effective leader as a champion or an alpha. They just go about it differently. And it's important to know that, and important to understand that when you're looking at this trait and other traits with a similar line of thinking, as you think through your Teamprint profiles. On down, we can look at our social trait. So Destin here is outgoing, meaning that socializing and being around people, talking with people is important to him, and it gives him energy. I haven't mentioned it yet, but if you look over here, it says you are more social than 80 to 90% of the world. What that means is all of these traits exist on a bell curve. So it's a distribution of where you fall within the trait in relation to others that have taken the assessment, and anybody really. So what that means is that if you are outgoing, as Destin is, he is more, he gets energy, he enjoys being around people, socializing, more than 80 to 90% of the world. So people over here, they're the top end of that spectrum where they enjoy socializing. Somebody over here that might be quiet, they're going to lean the other way, where they may be a little more introverted. They might enjoy, smaller groups. Socializing might be taxing for them from an energy standpoint. And it's really important to notice and know where everybody falls on this, so you can be aware and cognizant on how people interact with others and their energy states when doing so. If we go down here to reaction, we can see Destin is purposeful, meaning that, like I mentioned earlier, enterprisers, they like to move quickly. So in this case, taking immediate action, as it says here, is very important to Destin. So he likes to move quickly, decisively, and move through things at a fast pace. Somebody that's calm or zen, such as myself, might take a second to have a more gradual reaction, slow down a little bit, and then move through a situation, solving a problem, etc. And then finally, we have the technical trait. So this is a measure of the importance of the details and the technical side of things to a person. So a lot of our specialists here are going to, if we go back up here, specialists, I know stuff. They get energy by knowing things. So a lot of them, they're going to fall over on this side of the spectrum, meaning that knowing things, knowing the details, and getting those details right is very important to them. When we look at somebody like Destin, who's approximate, knowing those details is less important to him as so much as having, just enough of an understanding and perspective of something in order for him to be able to move quickly when we look back at this reaction spectrum. So when you're looking through all these traits, it's just important to know that they're not a measure of one's ability in one way or the other. It's more so how they fall in relation to others on a spectrum of these traits. And that informs how they lead, interact socially, how quickly they move, and their attention to detail, so to speak. Then if we scroll down to the end here, we get to the enrichment traits that I'd mentioned. So in the way, and how I mentioned earlier that foundational traits make up who you are, and there's trend lines and foundational traits amongst each vector. Enrichment traits exist agnostic of vectors. So if Destin here is a disruptor and an enterpriser, and he's a passionate, he's hawk, and he's persistent, those trends there, they don't read true to all enterprises or all disruptors. Anybody can fall within these, and they just serve to enrich or enhance our understanding of this person beyond their foundational traits. We have 3 enrichment traits. We have one's temperament, their awareness, and their conscientiousness. And again, it exists on a spectrum across the board, and it's in relation to others that have taken the assessment and people in general. So if we look at Destin's temperament, he's passionate. So he responds emotionally at times, and that's natural to him, and how his response is to situations or behaviors towards him. And understanding that is important, and how maybe somebody delivers news to him or communicates with him. It's important to know his temperament and that he's a passionate person, and that can inform better communication styles and things of that nature. Then if we look at his awareness, we can see he's a hawk. So he's very aware of his surroundings and situations. If he's in a room, in a meeting, and there's 10 people in the room, he's going to be aware of what everybody's doing in the room, and understanding of that, and that will inform how he interacts. Conversely, somebody may be preoccupied or a dreamer, in which case they're not as aware of what's going on around them, and they may be thinking more internally about something they're working on, or focused on just one person, that type of thing. And understanding that, again, is important. How you interact with somebody and how you perceive somebody's interacting in a group setting based upon their awareness trait. And then finally, we have conscientiousness. So conscientiousness is, as it says here, it's your motivation by a factor, feeling, or something you're working on, or something like that. So we have everything, we have complacent up to resolute. Destin here is persistent, so he's got a good balance between the two. He likes to work hard, but he knows when to remain contented in situations. It's good when we're looking at teams to have a balance between these two, in the sense that a balance allows there to be healthy discourse on when things need to be pushed ahead, when things need to be, maybe we may remain, leaning back on them or content with how they are, and how that plays through, if there's a good balance, is consistent progress, consistent work and determination forward amongst a team in a way that's natural, healthy, and sustainable. And then finally over here, we have amplifier medals. There's 3 different types of amplifier medals that somebody can receive. And Destin here has the high emotional intelligence amplifier medal. We have another video where we break down these medals that you can watch. But if we look at this one specifically, what this is showing that is beyond these traits that we can look at, Destin's results from his submission of his assessment shows that he's very emotionally intelligent. He's very in tune with others and how he interacts with others, and in tune with their emotions and how he's responsive to them. seeing these amplifier metals and understanding them is just another layer of understanding that the Teamprint assessment offers that can serve, again, to inform how you yourself interact and how you see your team or organizations interacting with others. All right, so if we scroll back up here and we click on the print/PDF, it's going to pull up the option to print. And if we click on more settings here, scroll down, there's an option to open the PDF in a preview. Click on that, and you can see now we have a PDF version of the results page we just went through. In order to save that, go to File, Save, and we can just name it Destin Bell Teamprint. And we will save that. Close out of these two windows, and then I will open that up. All right, Dustin, so that's pretty much it for what I needed to cover today. So hopefully that's for everybody. Again, if you need any help with anything, leave a comment on the video, reach out to help@wendal.com, reach out on Discord, or anybody else that you're in contact with the Wendal team. Thanks.
Appreciate the help, Joe. We appreciate our Wendal expert hopping in on the call with us.
No problem.